Are we live? We are live, and the sound is coming through as well. Just waiting for Chris's nod. Hello, everybody. Steve Davis here. Welcome to episode 383 of the Adelaide Show podcast, the fourth of our 10th birthday celebration episodes, ending our month of Tuesdays tonight. And we're doing this live with a couple of things that are quite special. In my hands, I actually have a little mobile camera, which I'll be using later in the night to zoom in close to think, oh, look at that. Whoa. It's a special. I might just do this now. Here's Colin Richard, who's with us tonight. Here we go. Just go into the close camera again, please, Chris. Look at that. Yes, there you go. Look at that. Can you pass the rest on? We'll get Brett Monten in there as well. He's pulled back.
Yeah.
Brett's pulled back. Okay. And pass it around this way. And, of course, the reason we're here is Don Violi. Oh. He's the man who cuts my hair every how often? 3 weeks, isn't it?
3 weeks, I think we're currently doing.
Yes, well, we've been doing that for almost 20 years now.
Yes.
And look at this. Look at this.
Have a look what's happened. Just have a look.
Magnificent.
Let's have a very close look.
I don't think we need to have a look that close. I will say that in one of the episodes, I think it's when Nigel Dobson was with us, I asked you, frankly, what you thought of my hair, what it said about me, and you said it shows that you have no care about how you look. And
I'm not sure that it was exactly spoken like that,
yes,
Stephen.
that's what you said. That's what you said.
Might have been implied.
And then you gave me
You obviously show care once every 3 weeks when you go to visit Don.
That's right. The thing is, Don just let me ask for what I wanted, and he didn't guide me. Why did you not guide me? Did you think I was going to be offended by your truth?
Well, the customer's always right. Let's remember that.
Fair enough. Look, we've got a lot of nostalgia to get into tonight. That's what
we have.
You kick up that dust whenever you're around. But before we go any further, we do need to do our acknowledgement of country. So we'll play that now. And as you're watching this, of course, this is not happening now. This will be put in post-production. So that will finish. Caitlin will finish saying that, and then we'll start with the SA Drink of the Week. Here we go.
Should we have some introductions first, or did we do that? We did that with the camera?
We did that with the camera.
Okay.
We're going to have a bevy full of introductions. Like
Good.
You wouldn't
all
believe.
right.
Okay.
Hello, honky tonks.
Okay. Here we go. That's for me later when I'm editing. Right. Oh, thank you. Oh, that's right. Brett, you used to give me the clap every time we did the show. So here we are, about to do the first segment of the program, and Colin has requested we do another round of introductions. Colin, hello.
Hello, honky tonks. How are you?
Good. Don Violi, hello.
Good evening, Steve, Colin and Brett.
And Brett Monten.
That's me. Hello.
We will just do that all night. No, we're about to have an SA Drink of the Week, which is traditionally our first segment of each episode, and we've got something a little bit special to do tonight because we are taking a wander down nostalgia lane, and on my way here tonight we drove past the old brewery, the old West End brewery, and I have not been there since it all got flattened.
You wouldn't have seen much, would you? No.
It was a ghostly feel. It felt wrong.
Except for, what have they left there? Do you know what they've left?
Those tanks aren't there.
Oh,
No.
It's just one of the heritage buildings, isn't it?
Right.
They found Colonel Light's house or something in the middle of it.
Yeah, remnants, I think, of Colonel Light's house.
Did they really?
Yeah. In the building site.
How could that have been there?
Why, how deep was it?
I don't know. They excavated, removed some buildings, and they said, "Oh, that's historic."
They might have moved some dirt and there was a hand poking through going,
Maybe.
Ordering a couple of beers.
yes. Actually, yeah, he only ordered one at a time.
Yeah.
What a stingy... He never bought around. Colonel William Light never bought around. He just did,
That's right.
One, please, sir.
But I think Keith Conlon has information on that that excavation of Colonel Light's property, because he was either directly involved or closely involved on the dig.
What, he put the togs on, did he?
Well, no, I think he was. He had a keen interest in the process, and he kept in touch with the diggers.
Well, let's do that on that note to protect Keith Conlon's reputation while he's not with us. The first cab off the rank is to look at the big beverages whose advertising formed part of the South Australian cultural landscape back in the day. And we mentioned West End. We should start with West End. The West End of the day. What sort of springs to mind when you think West End and that brewery, which of course also spawned Southwark, among other beers?
For me, the unveiling of the colours of the SANFL Grand Final winner and runner-up. I always remember that. Yeah.
That was always a big thing. You'd look for it after the grand final, see how long it took.
Yeah, see
And
how
they'd
long it
cover
took to do it.
yeah.
Yep, they'd be up there, cover it all up, then do the official unveiling by, I don't know who, actually. That I don't remember.
It might have rotated. It might have been different people who did the unveiling.
And I'm guessing that was done since it's been the West End Brewery, because West End used to be West End of Hindley Street.
Oh.
That's why it was the West End.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
Southwark
correct.
was where they are, or did that? They amalgamated. They bought out, and because Southwark was the suburb around there.
Now that you raise that, if anyone has joined us on Facebook and you're watching this, feel free to put some comments in, because Chris will keep an eye on that. And if you want to feed in and correct any of the errors of record that we're making on this episode.
There may be many.
There may be many. In fact, we're deliberately trying to get some things wrong.
But Southwark originally was a suburb round that way, so
Is there still a Southwark suburb in Adelaide? I've
don't
never...
think so.
No, I don't
you got
think so.
You got the Southwark Hotel. Is it further down?
Yes,
Yeah,
on
closer to the
Port
city.
Road.
On Port Road.
But West End Brewery was originally West End Hindley Street,
Yep.
and then shifted.
They poured a lot of money into advertising. They sponsored a lot of events. And the beer was... Well, how would you describe the beer? Brett, you're the resident beer expert. How would you describe that classic West End, which used to be on tap as a schooner? I remember going in for a palmy and having a schooner. And before I developed taste buds, it was quite fine.
Yeah, it's a definite teenagehood drink. And I think I remember in the 80s as well, I think it was West End, had like the Super and the West End Blue, was the Eagle Blue?
Oh, yeah, they had the Eagle Blue. I remember
and
that.
there was a green one too. Was that? I think that was West End.
Well, green
might
was
have been
Southwark.
the Southwark.
No, there was the three. So they had the Super, which was like the 5%.
Mm-hmm.
Eagle Blue, which was the lower one, and there was a mid one. It didn't last very long.
That
which was green in colour.
Okay.
That'd be about right.
Can't place that one.
What I remember, though, is that on tap, that was the beer that was on tap everywhere, was the Southwark, not the West End draft, or bitter draft. And if it was a really hot day, it was actually okay. If it was a really stinker day, that was all right, because I think you were desperate to have anything.
Probably.
But also, everything is relative.
And the other great thing about West End in the long necks, all the Italians collected the bottles to put the sauce.
Of course.
That poor company would have been buying bottles like there was no tomorrow.
I'd even say for me, the sauce would have tasted nicer than the West End, because I had West End once. I'd been drinking another brand, South Australian brand. And
Which one?
Cooper's.
Okay. Yeah.
And I decided to get a slab of
A slab?
West End one weekend.
You don't strike me as a slab kind
No,
of guy.
I'm not. And I mean, I was then making shandies with it. And I thought it was one of the worst things I've ever tasted.
Wow.
So,
Did you ever drink Southwark bitter?
no.
I used to like Southwark. In fact, talking of the Italians keeping the long necks and not recycling them, just using them for their... That's very clever.
Well, it was recycled.
Well, it
They'd
was.
wash them out and reuse them again the next year.
Our neighbour, when I was growing up, I've got a funny feeling his name was Nino. We went over for a barbecue and he was pouring some beer, and I was about 11 or 12, and he said, "Would you like some?" And looked at my dad, and Dad said, "Okay." So I had my first taste of beer. I think it was Southwark. It was either Southwark or West End. It was one of those, and that was my first taste. So I thought he was caring about me. All he was thinking about was, I need this bottle empty for my tomato sauce.
And have you ever seen a head like that on tomato sauce?
So that's those people, and they did a lot of things over the time. But also, I mean, Southwark itself. Southwark was much maligned by many people as Green Death. It was known as the Green Death but I've got a fondness for it. Southwark Gold came out at one point, which I kind of liked. It was their upper
I
version.
remember that one.
Again, I think it was like the mid-strength West End. It came and went
Okay.
reasonably quickly because Southwark died a sad death. Although you can still get a bit of Southwark around the place from memory.
Really?
I don't know who makes it.
You've tweaked a memory for me, or a thought, and it's not particularly beer related, but talking about Southwark, and I'm wondering if it's a particular South Australian pronunciation of Southwark, Keswick, Greenwich, a couple of those towns where you've got the WIC and you don't pronounce the W.
No.
I think it's an English thing because you've got Hackham, like you also, the way they drop and Ovingham, whereas I often say Ovingham on the telephone and they say where, and I say Ovingham.
Oh.
Like you don't say the ham part. No, I saw on Facebook just yesterday someone was asking about the pronunciation of Greenwith up in Golden Grove. That might be you saw the same thing, and people were saying no, it's Greenwith. Whereas tends to be from an English, like as in the country England point of view, you drop the Greenwich Mean Time, as you were saying, and all those.
You'd go Granwith,
yeah,
or something like that. Of course, if we do the big three of the brewers who moulded the landscape, the other is of course Cooper's, which you've already alluded to, Colin, and I mean they've had some fantastic advertising over the years. But none has stuck in my memory as much as the Portagaff ads. Who actually remembers those ads on TV? You can't know, you two, boy? No. Do you remember them, Don?
Sadly, I'm the oldest one here, so I do remember them.
Yes. Now, was that when there was black and white TV, or was that colour TV at that time?
Oh, now there's a good question.
Because I've got a vague recollection of seeing them in black and white. But I could be wrong. They probably were shot in colour.
I wouldn't even hazard a guess at that, Steve.
Okay.
To be honest, no, I wouldn't hazard a guess. I would have thought colour, but I'm just guessing.
Yeah. So the Portagaff is a combination of the Cooper Stout and lemonade, and they had a radio jingle and a TV ad, which I did a bit of digging today. And I found some facts about it. There's a gentleman by the name of Finbar who was talking about this on the forum called Big Footy. I don't know, I forgot how this thread started, but it got onto the Cooper Stout and lemonade. Anyway, he said, here are the lyrics. He said, Cooper Stout and lemonade, mix them up, you'll be amazed. That's a Portagaff you've made with Cooper Stout and lemonade. They are the iconic lyrics. And someone was asking, do you know who was involved in it? And he said, I know it particularly well because it was my dad's best friend and my godfather who starred in the ad and sang the jingle, which was none other than Don Barker. What TV show was Don Barker best remembered for? Yes?
Don Barker played Detective Sergeant Harry White in the Homicide series.
He did indeed.
And I also know him playing Bill Jackson, who was Meg Jackson's husband in Prisoner. And he was in many, many film and television roles.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Were you a homicide man, a Matlock policeman, or a Division 4 man? Which one were you? They were the big three TV shows made in Australia with cops back in the
Probably
the
Homicide
70s.
for me.
Homicide?
Yeah. I like Alan Kurtz.
Okay.
I thought he played a great character.
Yeah, I was mostly Matlock Police because I think it was probably run in the daytime. Black and white I remember, but I was just a kid, so I wouldn't have been up watching it nighttime.
Brett, do you remember any of those shows?
I remember the shows, but I was never a watcher of them.
Okay. I was Matlock Police all the way. Gary Cronin, I think, was the motorbike policeman in that.
Paul Cronin.
Paul Cronin.
He was a Sullivan's.
That's right.
Yep, Dave Sullivan.
Okay, and I used to in our garden at home, with my Matchbox cars, reenact Matchbox Police episodes.
Oh, okay.
However, we got to that from.
That's a bit sad, isn't it?
Well, look at me now.
And it's interesting too with Matlock Police because Michael Pate was an actor who featured in that. He played the chief.
Yes.
And he often played Indians. I'm not sure about the chief in Hollywood Western movies.
There you go. How
How
did he do that?
Well,
Now, even Finbar, who's related to the great Don Barker, said he can't find it on YouTube, but he said there was one verse was voiced in a manly way, one was done in a falsetto voice, and then in a white suit, and then he was on screen together in both the manly and the falsetto version. And here's something. David Fuller was the ad man responsible for this ad. And here's the thing that I picked up out of an SA Life magazine article. That ad was a stick-in-your-head jingle. Guess how much it cost them to make?
3 and 6.
3 and 6. $720.
Beautiful.
And that ran for 6 to 7 years.
So even accounting for inflation, etc., that's still pretty cheap.
That is still pretty cheap.
Yeah.
That is. So I thought we should make a Portagaff tonight as our SA drink of the week.
And also, just a trivia bit that I believe Don Barker, the actor in the ads, is from Adelaide. He was born in Adelaide.
Well, it's even better. Chris Warman was born in Adelaide. He's doing our cameras tonight. He's going to come on as the model. It's a bit like Tony Barber and the Price is Right. And he's going to be...
This is Delvine.
Yeah. Luckily he's put his
Delvine.
pants back on.
Oh, look at that. Yes. Okay. Thank you. Look at that. Oh, thank you. And tonight's prize is worth $85. And you also get a Sale of the Century key ring.
Yes.
All right. So here's what we're going to do.
Anything diamond studded that you can have as a prize?
I think I'm sitting on something. Oh, yes, I might need a little hand there, please, Don. It's been so long. I don't normally drink beer, at all. Not a lot.
No?
I'll have some Big Shed every now and then. I can't even... I've got
This
my...
is like the Great Cork episode. You can't open the bottle. Can't even get it out of the packet.
Hang on. Let's capture this. I'm upside down here. Here we go. I need to use... Oh, this is a fancy thing. So what I'm trying to do is break the... I can't get
Allow me, Steve. There's actually a little knife in there. You can...
There. I got one out.
Don't leave Steve Davis alone with a knife.
Look at that. I've done product placement as well. Cooper's is going to love this. I think they're going to buy the rights to this because I think what we should do is replicate the ad as we drink this drink tonight. So can you rack a top off another couple? No, you're not going to have one, are you?
Unfortunately, I can't really take
I reckon we
this,
need 3.
Steve, to be honest.
And I've got some glasses. Now, if the ad is correct, the way... Oh, yes.
May I have a sip of the stout before we mix because I don't know what stout tastes like.
Okay.
Please.
Here we go.
In the glass.
I'll just...
How refined.
Do you want a sip of the stout to orient your taste buds, Brett?
No, I'm well familiar with
You're
Stout.
well-
I'll be
okay.
right, thanks.
Well, let me give you a good dose of head so that you're ready to go. And, Don, I can't tempt you?
No, thanks, Steve. No, can't do it.
If, well, that's turned Colin's head.
Oh, can't wait for the lemonade.
All right. I might get another one from you,
Smell
please.
versus the taste and...
Now, where's your glass? I need your full... This is why you never put podcast setups on your kitchen table, because it's...
Oh, that's a lot.
Is that all right?
Oh, can I have... Oh, no, because I've used that.
have.
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah.
You'll be all right.
Yeah, I'll put more lemonade in later.
There you go. Now, what we're going to do here, you were saying, Colin, that you saw it was like 70-30 was the
Yeah,
official...
I found it on the Cooper's website, and it referred to all their drinks, past and present, I think it would have been, and it said, I believe, 30% lemonade and 70% of that stuff.
All right, so here is the making of the Portagaff in real time. I'll put Colin in the background there. Look at you, Colin. Here we go. I'm going to do a little a twist of lemonade. I think that's all it really needs. Here we go. And a little twist.
Oh,
I think that's all a Portagaff should have.
Really?
can you taste
You think it should be more, Brett?
Yeah, that's
Bring your glass across. That's
that is my glass.
that is-
Oh, okay, yeah, a bit more. Okay, well, drink some of that and I'll put some more lemonade in it. But I think men drink it like this, Brett.
Now.
Colin, let me put some in you. So here we go. I'll just do this again. Oh, your head's disappeared, Colin.
It pulls in every time.
Right, goodness me.
They call him the turtle.
Okay, so let's all... my one thing we do with the SA Drink of the Week is we toast our late patron, Queen Adelaide. So before we taste this, gentlemen, raise your glasses to the Queen.
To the Queen.
I'll be over there in a sec.
And
Here you
all
come,
who
Don.
sailed in.
And all who sailed in here. Cheers. Okay, and just imagine you've done that. Okay, let's have a drink of this. I hope you're having one at home. In fact, if you are drinking something at home, let us know what you're tippling on tonight. That'd be nice. It probably needs just a smidgen more lemonade, I'm thinking. Brett, that was a bit stingy with the lemonade there. Do you mind if I put a bit more in?
I think it's a good idea. It doesn't
Not
need
too
too
much.
much. It's
No.
reasonably sweet already.
Would you like me to?
Pass it on, yes. Now, here's the thing. I think while we're well lubricated here,
Thank you.
so what we've got, I feel like, Don, this
Yes,
relates to
feel
you.
like Don?
Okay.
I feel like I've snuck into a barber shop and I have grabbed hold of the long leather sharpening strop, and I've licked it from bottom to top.
Oh my God.
And there's a little bit of sweet hair wax that was left on it somehow. I don't know why it was ever near it. But there's a leathery base, smoky, leathery note. Is that what you're getting, Brett and Colin?
Absolutely not.
Can we bring a strop in
Not
so I
even
can?
close.
Please bring a strop in and we'll compare.
Don Violi, can Colin lick your strop?
Yes, I have one at my work, which he can lick.
He may get stroppy if I do that.
Boom.
Boom, boom.
Now, I would actually suggest there's too much lemonade in there now.
I agree. I just thought the same thing.
I can taste the lemonade rather than the mix.
And you don't want to taste the lemonade. So we have got it now on video that my first iteration was correct, and I just went too far in the end. So that's a bit disappointing. However, let's just make it
You've
happy.
got more stout there. You can.
Oh, yes.
Just-
Pass down emergency stout relief. Bob Geldof could have done a lot with that. Pass it down, tip it up. I think this is the time, Don, because you didn't drink this,
Yes.
I need you to help us sing the Cooper's Stout song.
Okay.
You can back from the microphone a bit and just do backing vocals, all right?
Would you like me to do the lemonade?
Well, would you like to do the lemonade?
I can do the lemonade.
Okay, so you mean the words and lemonade? Okay, so I'll do Cooper's Stout,
You can be the tough guy.
all right? And you know what they did in the ads with Don Barker? And what are you going to do, Colin? You're going to chip in and... Why don't you do both to falsettos together?
Oh,
Or do you want to be Butch?
well, first time for everything, I suppose.
What were you going to ask? You want to ask something?
The lyrics.
The lyrics. Cooper's Stout and lemonade, mix them up, you'll be amazed. That's a Portagaff you've made with Cooper's Stout and lemonade.
Right.
All right, so I'll go Butch.
Cows give milk.
And so here we go. I reckon this is a pretty Butch. Here we go. Hey, here, how you going, mate? Here, give us a Portagaff, buddy. Is that pretty Butch?
Yeah, sure.
I'm not commenting.
If I walked into your shop, Don, would you tremble in your knees? Would you feel something down below?
Possibly, yes. Possibly.
Possibly not what you're expecting, Stephen.
All right, here we go. And if you're going to be a little bit on the other, here we go. You can wear the scarf. All right, so here we go. We're about to recreate the Cooper's ad of 1970-something.
And they're both in Arnott's yo-yos.
Need a starting note, Stephen.
Can you give us a starting note?
I don't know the tune.
Well, I think we don't really worry about that too much. Cooper's Stout. Ready? So we do the bass together and you two do the falsettos together.
It's like the commercial for the hot dog, isn't it? You do the high part.
Daddy plays bass.
Here we go. Are ready? Cooper's Stout.
Cooper's
And
Stout.
lemonade.
Oh, and lemonade.
Okay,
Right.
you had one job. You two say, and lemonade.
My false.
And lemonade.
See? Don can do it,
lemonade.
but he is a hairdresser. So
You know, you go Huskies.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Husky. All right, here we go.
I'll try and
Are
get
you
the
ready?
high one.
Before everyone leaves us. Here we go. Cooper's
Cooper's
Stout.
Stout.
And lemonade.
Mix them up.
Make
You,
them
You've made.
that's a Portagaff you've made.
Lemonade.
Cooper's Stout.
Cooper's Stout.
And lemonade.
I reckon that's gold.
Oh, that's pretty bad, really.
That was
I
a
reckon
practice. Let's do one more for real. Are we ready?
Okay.
And you can back off the microphone a little bit because you were blowing my meter.
Oh.
All right, so here we go. Are we good? Gentlemen, here we go.
Go.
Can you give us a note now that you know what it is? I'm so glad I asked. Here we go. Am I sounding butch, by the way?
Oh, absolutely.
And Don? Okay. Here we go. Ready? This is it. This is the most musical SA drink of the week ever. Coopers will love this. We are available to hire. Cooper Stout
and lemonade.
Mix them up. You'll be amazed. That's a Portagaff
You've made
Cooper Stout.
and lemonade.
One more. Cooper Stout.
And lemonade.
Mix them up.
You've got it made.
That's a Portagaff.
You made.
All together. Cooper Stout
and
lemonade.
Get it into you.
All that's left to say is Cooper Stout and lemonade, the Portagaff, is the South Australian drink of the week.
Cheers.
Cheers indeed.
I like the amount of lemonade in it.
Yeah, I don't. I need to pull back on that.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Now, everyone, what we're going to do now is do the main reason we're here tonight, which is the main interview. Here we go. Let's just check our time. 8:05. Oh, my God, this is all paste. Okay. Oh, I better take this hat off because otherwise I'll scare people with my overt masculinity.
You might.
Steve, you used to work at 5AA. Don't we have to cross to the racing now?
That was a long time ago with Ray Fewings.
Yes.
Actually, I worked with Ray Fewings later at 5DN. He used to do nighttime talkback, and he would basically have a caller talking. He'd turn his microphone off, and he was just reading the newspaper. And every now and then he'd just put his microphone on and go, mm-hmm. And
Do you think a lot of them do that though, or are they listening?
I'm not sure.
Bob Francis listened.
Bob Francis is, you wanker!
Yeah, you dick brain.
Yes,
and that was to an 80-something-year-old woman.
Exactly.
Yeah, we need another Bob Francis.
Yeah, so
Another talk back.
I used to go and use the studio after him. I was on midnight till dawn. He was on until midnight.
Oh, yeah.
I used to sit where he sat.
And yes, I remember you
Yes.
telling me about that.
Off air. All right, so let's move on to our nostalgia discussion because this is 10 years of this podcast. It's a chance to just reflect. And with these people in particular, all of you are tuned to the key of nostalgia. And the first thing I want to point out, we can pass the camera down to the bread and the meat. If you can show some bread and meat, please. Brett.
Oh, is it going to go through? Oh, it's stuck. It's stuck on some.
That's all right. Here we go.
we
Because
are.
I want to start with this. Let's start with the bread. The bread over here, this bread. Look at that. Can you see that?
Look
Yes,
at
we
that.
can see
Look
that.
at that.
And now pan around gently to Don's Small Goods, which are just down there. Look at that. The reason I wanted to start with this for our main discussion is that Don Violi, you gave me an experience in the Adelaide Hills that I'd never had before when we pulled off into a small park just in Birdwood next to the Motor Museum.
You mean it wasn't just me?
No, it wasn't just you. And what we did, because we'd driven up in the bay to Birdwood in your car, one of your cars,
The unofficial officials.
unofficial officials, we were giving people directions. What car was it?
We're in my 320i E30 BMW,
Circa
1989.
1989. Anyway, what we did is he lifted his boot and got out some fresh bread, crusty bread, and some of his, was it the pepperoni sticks?
Pepperoni sticks, yep.
Which homemade.
Homemade.
And that's all we had.
Oh,
And that was the most beautiful and sustaining picnic lunch.
you ate them?
ate them.
You ate them.
And you remember me being quite taken by that. And for you, it's like,
I remember you were a bit speechless for a while you savoured
Oh, can I get some of that?
savoured that bread and pepperoni stick, and you're finally, when the words came out of your mouth, it was just so simple, so beautiful, so simple.
yeah, which is my Tinder profile, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Well, you've both been happy ever since as well, haven't
We
you?
have. No, seriously, if you've not eaten simply peasant food,
Yes.
and it's just so sustaining and
It is.
simple.
That's simplicity is the key.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I wanted the camera to start on that because then there are a couple other Don Violi stories that we need to get launched into, and then we all have some different stories to share. But the first is the fact that Don, since 2013, we finished every night by saying "Good night, Don" to Don Dunstan.
Okay.
And
Don thought it was Good Night, Don.
Oh, you thought it was
thought
"Good night,
every
Don
night.
Violi." Oh no, did you think we were saying good night to you every night?
Well,
Don
I was
wouldn't go to-
wondering for a while, but
He wouldn't go to bed. I spoke to his wife. She said he wouldn't go to bed until we'd said Good Night, Don.
Don't believe anything Lena says. Now, Lena's been on this show before when we did the big pinball expose out the back. He's got a pinball machine out the back. And we played pinball that night. What were the scores?
well, I know that my score wasn't very good, and
Someone got 41 million.
And you had the beginner's luck, Steve. I
Yeah,
remember that
yeah.
quite vividly.
Anyway.
and actually, you've reminded me ever since.
It just slips out every now and then.
Yeah, doesn't it?
It's like an extra ball.
Absolutely.
And anyway, where I was going with that is what was I going with? We were talking about. I was saying goodnight to Don and Lena. When I was playing, it was Don's turn to grab the flippers and give them a good heave ho, and I've got her on film coming up to me going, tilt it. She was sabotaging your play that night, and I had to, because when you're a guest, you've got to do what the host asks.
Absolutely.
And did you win, Steve?
I did 41 million points. I think Lena was second, Nigel was third. I don't think Don scored.
And you still asked for your 20 cents back.
Yes. Anyway, Don, you cut Don Dunstan's hair. Tell me, can you describe that moment for us? And what was he like? Well, take us there. Paint the picture.
Okay, so I was probably in luckily my second year of apprenticeship. So green as green, straight out of school, left school at 16. So by this stage I might have been 17 odd. And my boss is off on annual leave. And Mr. Dunstan requires a haircut. So I'm left with the job of cutting his hair because, the chief wasn't there. So
Did you notice that, Mr. Dunstan?
Yeah,
Mr.
I know, I
Mr.
know.
Dunstan.
Yes.
How old would he have been at that stage, Don?
Dunstan would have been, I would say, probably in his 40s, probably by then. So I'm going back to about 1975,
Okay.
Somewhere around there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
It might have even been somewhere around that 40 mark, a bit less, a bit more. And I remember he came into the shop and he said, hello, got an appointment. I said, yep, come in, cut his hair. And that was about the conversation till it was like, thank you, goodbye.
Yeah.
Okay, see you later. Thanks for the rabbits.
Did you say good night, Don? After you left.
I should have, but I would have thought, in all honesty...
So you recognised him?
Well, he was a client of ours.
Oh, right.
But
So, yeah.
my boss, who then became my business partner, was his hairdresser till Don Dunstan passed away. So I would have thought that a man at his sort of level, whatever, would, and me being basically a young kid still,
Yeah.
that he would bring up some conversation and chat and ask, I don't know, whatever, about my family or, how I'm liking the job, how I'm getting on in work or whatever it might be. But there was literally no conversation whatsoever. And you feel a bit awkward to ask, what'd you do on the weekend or something.
What do you do for a job?
Well, we knew what he did for a job, so, it was a bit, it was quite awkward, I have to say.
Because I imagined he would have been a bit of a conversationalist, but
When he
Clearly
came,
not.
when he came in, when your boss used to do him, when he came in, was there conversation then?
Oh, they used to chat. My boss used to love to chat on the in regards to what was happening politically in the state and etc. Try and get a bit of backdoor information as
well.
such. Not quite, but
Colin.
anyway. So
Colin.
anyway, so they used to chat away, whatever, and then they became relatively close friends. And I know that Don Dunstan used to go to Dominic's house, and they'd have dinner together and you know, stuff like this.
So he'd come in with Dominic and chat. We'd see him elsewhere and chat. With you, no chatting.
No.
Have you ever wondered if it was you, Don?
Did cross my mind, Steve.
Did you ask him any questions?
No, because I didn't really know what was right to ask and what wasn't.
Do you know what would be sadly but funny at the same time is if he spent the rest of his life going, you know, the funny thing, I went to Dominic's, he was away, and the guy who cut my hair said nothing to me the whole time.
You know what would be better?
What's that?
If he was joining us here tonight,
wouldn't it
and you
be
could
great?
ask him that question.
Wouldn't that be great?
Why didn't you talk to that little kid?
But imagine if he was sat here now and he spoke to you, Steve, but didn't speak to Don.
Yeah, well, that's probably what would happen, isn't it?
That would be my thesis supported. Wow. So that was you, and you were based in just off Rundle Street.
Yep, James Place.
James Place back then. Because back in those days, there was something else that happened in that hairdressing salon, and it relates to the iconic South Australian movie Sunday Too Far Away.
Yes.
Where I believe you cut Jack Thompson's hair, didn't you?
Almost.
Oh, so okay, let me get this right. Premier Don Dunstan comes in, he gets cut with no talking. Jack Thompson comes in, sits down, Don comes up to him and goes, and moves away.
Well, what happened was, as I'd probably been 6 months, if that, in my job. So I'm the apprentice, I'm the junior, the shit kicker that, you know, does everything. Take the garbage out, wash the floor, wash people's hair, do whatever needed to be done. It was up to me. So one day I get into work at my normal sort of time, and seems to be a bit of commotion going on in the shop.
Right.
And I think, wonder what's going on here. Seems a bit different to a normal day. Next thing, the main cast of Sunday Too Far Away come to the salon. And I'm then told that we're doing hair for the cast of Sunday Too Far Away. So in the process of all this, of course, Jack Thompson was there, who was the lead person. And time was getting on. They had makeup person there, whatever, all these different people, the stars, whatever. And the TV Week were there, and they wanted a photo of Jack getting his hair cut.
Yes.
So they said to me, can you just hold the scissors and comb and make out you're cutting his hair? So Jack Thompson's sitting there, big smile on his face, and I'm holding the scissors and the comb, making out. I don't know if I'd even done a haircut by that stage yet. and they take a photo, and it appears in TV Week. And my boss got very pissed off that he didn't get his photo in the TV Week, that I got his photo, but he did the haircut. So that was it was a fun day, though, I have to say. Jack spoke to me a little bit.
But you obviously, true to form, said nothing back to him.
I didn't know what to say.
Do we know, had Don never did a centrefold, did he? No. Had Jack Thompson done his centrefold by then with Cleo magazine?
Well, no, I reckon that was a bit later.
A bit later?
I think. Not 100% sure on that one, but I think it was a bit later.
Did you prepare him for that?
No, no manscaping there.
So, Jack, if you're listening, get in touch and let us know when that was.
Yeah, send us a message.
Send us a picture.
Send us a picture.
Brett, what would you have asked Jack Thompson if you were sidling up next to him with a pair of scissors in your mitts? This is one of Australia's best-known actors at the time, and you're there. What would you say?
What'll it be, sir?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. That's sort of disarmingly nice and servitude.
Maybe. It's more...
Oh, you'd ask with a bit of attitude, would you?
No, not I don't think it's servitude. I think it's camaraderie.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So what do you have?
In a respectful way.
But with a threat of being judgmental if it's below what you're expecting.
What'll it be, sir? Oh, really?
Portagaff.
Are you sure you want that?
I probably would have said, how do you normally like it?
I know you would have said that.
And if you need your hair cut, you can go down to Don.
He doesn't say much, but he cuts a good head.
Oh dear. What would I have asked Jack Thompson? I should have thought of this when I came up with the question first. I would have said, have you ever done a sheep before? Like you're about to go up and shear sheep in this movie. Have you done it before? That's what I would have asked. There was so much material there, Don.
Plenty.
Yes.
I saw you talking to a sheep shearer earlier today.
Yes, Max Cullen, who was also on the cast of Sunday Too Far Away.
Yep.
He was on the Adelaide Show a couple of years ago now, and I was in his hotel room with him doing it. And I said, look, I want to ask you about this. And I got the pillow, put a pillow in front of us and pretend that's a sheep. I got the remote control for this TV. I said, pretend that's shears. Show me if you know how to do it. And he said, right, well, he said, he held the pillow, he held this, but zoom, whoops, zoom. And then he looked off stage and he said, cut in. Because that was when he would hop out.
And a new sheep
And
would
the
come along.
proper shearer would come and actually do it. So they didn't learn how to shear
A
properly.
stunt shearer.
A stunt shearer
And
came in.
a stunt sheep as well.
Meh.
I think of all the stunt jobs, stunt shearer would
I
have
thought
to
he
be
said stunt jobs.
would be one of the easiest. You're not going to get thrown around. You're not going to break bones.
Have you ever shorn a sheep?
No.
They're pretty vicious.
I think, yeah, it sounds like you're underestimating the physicality of it.
Well, I was right there with Max Cullen. You've got a nice little white pillow in your arms and you've got a remote control. And it seemed pretty tame to me. So if you had your time over again, what would you now ask Jack Thompson?
Well, it's a bit difficult, Steve, because I only posed for the photo with him and then he took off. No, the photographer took off.
Right.
And then Jack would have gone and joined the other guys having their hair cut, whatever. I think Jack was one of the last ones. So there wasn't really much opportunity to, unless you actually made an effort to go in and make yourself known that you want to talk to him.
Yeah.
And I don't know, probably would have got into some chat, maybe. I don't know.
On cutting hairs for movie actors, would there be a thing of you can't actually cut it too severely because of continuity? If they're shooting again the next day, they're not going to want to turn up in the same scene with a different haircut.
Good question.
Were you around with any of that direction? Did they say, look, just a bit off the top?
They again, I wasn't doing the cutting, but they were given a guide of the way they wanted the haircuts done.
A special bowl for each of them.
Well, they basically wanted them to look like they were not done professionally in a barber shop because they were shearers.
So that's why you got the gig.
Maybe. So they wanted it to look a little bit,
Yeah.
like a little bit home done, but sort of okay too,
Yeah.
So it was a bit of a. And one guy, he played the part of his character was called Blue, and we had to bleach his hair out and then colour it red ginger, which looked great. When they went to the studio or whatever, and they put lights on it, it went blonde. Didn't so back spent nearly another day in there,
Just going deeper and deeper
getting
red.
the colour right. Yeah. But I think that was more a mistake on my boss's behalf of how he went about it.
Right.
But anyway,
Wow.
they got it right in the end. But yeah,
Okay. I love this, how you revise history, because you've let me think, having seen the picture of you cutting Jack Thompson's hair, and the reason we're here tonight is I thought we're going to sit with the man who cut Jack Thompson's hair, and it was all show business.
it's all about impression, isn't it?
It is. It is about impression. One last Don Violi story, because I know Colin's sitting on a nice one. When you moved to open up a salon on Prospect Road, Prospect Council were doing a thing where you could put artwork on stobie poles. And tell us how Clifton Pugh, famous artist, came to do a mural on your pole, Don, that turned many heads.
Well, my pole was available.
Right? Okay. It is or it was?
It still is.
It still is. Okay.
So anyway, the story went that we contracted Russell Starkey.
Yes, the late Russell Starkey.
The late Russell Starkey as our PR person to organise our official opening day. So with his team, whatever. So one of the things he came up with, the late Anne Newmarch, who was a prospect artist in residence at the time, or around that time, had a program going where people could paint the stobie pole in front of their premises with some painting, which of course had to be approved by the council. The usual story went on. So Russell rings me one day and says, oh, you wouldn't believe what's happened. He says, we've secured Clifton Pugh to do the stobie pole painting. I said, oh, that's great, having no idea who Clifton Pugh was, to be blatantly honest. This is 1984. So I said, he said, then it went on that through Green Hill Galleries, a lady called Vita Swain, who ran Green Hill Galleries, was his, what would you call it? His publicist here,
agent.
Sorry, that's the right word. Here, and he was here for Children's Book Week, and that he'd be more than happy to come and do the poll. I said to Russell, I don't think that's in our budget, Russell. This guy was charging $25,000 for a portrait or something back then.
This is 1980 something.
84.
84.
So he said, no, he's going to do it for free. I said, are you kidding? No, he's going to do it for free. So long course of events, we put in then the council wanted a cartoon of what we were going to do. So Clifton decides he's going to paint a nude Adam and Eve on the pole with a snake starting at Adam downstairs and finishing at Eve downstairs. So the council had a look at it and said, oh, no, that's too rude. You can't do it. So we did it. And all hell broke loose. And I mean all hell broke loose. There was a talkback show in the morning called 5 a.m. or something that was on at 5 a.m. in the morning.
Wow.
We were on there. We made Four Corners. We made every news service, Current Affair, Post Magazine, front page of the Advertiser, and I mean front page, nearly half a page devoted to us.
7:30 report? Or their equivalent?
Yeah, something like that.
ABC had an equivalent.
Yeah. So Four Corners did probably one of the biggest stories on it, and then featured it as a story of the year. And Don Dunstan did the official opening for us.
There you go, Don.
Did Don say much to you that day?
No.
No.
That's a good question. Don just said, who's that bloke? He's vaguely familiar.
Well, I was in business with a guy that used to take a lot of the limelight and etc. So,
yeah.
In fairness to Don Dunstan, he probably didn't even know that I was a partner there. You know, that was just the sort of guy I was in business with.
Yeah.
So there you go.
So anyway, that's how it goes. That doesn't bother me, to be honest. I just do what I need to do, and you know.
And we had Christian fundamentalists throw eggs at it or graffiti it, didn't they? And
a fella graffiti it. We had petition. We had people ringing up. One person wanted to chain themselves to the pole so the council couldn't paint over it, etc. So Don Dunstan opened the thing.
Do you think they were mostly residents of the local area, or do you think people came from far and wide?
To be offended.
To be offended and then to
be offended. Oh, there weren't that many that were offended, actually.
No, that's the thing, isn't it?
Very few. The priest at or whatever he might be, at St. Cuthbert's across the road, he thought there was nothing wrong with it. Artists from interstate came and had a look and thought it was good, and we had petitions going, all the usual stuff, you know.
So,
but we got an amazing publicity, and on the day when Dunstan was there unveiling it and etc., and he was asked, you know, do you think it's rude? And he said, do people not walk around Europe? Do people walk around Europe with a blindfold on, with all the artwork and nudity of artwork and statues? He says, So, anyway, the pole then got sold.
That's right. Yeah, someone bought the pole.
Dr. Now I've drawn a blank. Sorry. He was in charge of Centre for Performing Arts at the time. He bought it, then it went into storage. He bought the pole. They put it at the Centre for Performing Arts, and we don't know where it got to from there. So, if anyone happens to know where it is, I'd love to know.
It's a stobie pole.
It's a stobie pole.
How does one move a stobie pole?
They bought it from. So they paid what was then ETSA, which is now SA Power Networks, the cost of replacing that pole and shipping it off somewhere else. I think it was about $1,000 back then.
Wow.
That's a bargain. So
It's probably worth a lot of money now, if it still exists.
can I ask, when you're listening to this, can you please have a feel around? Is there a pole somewhere that you've just discovered, and does it have a painting upon it of a nude Adam and Eve? Because it could be in someone's backyard.
Yes, it could be.
Could be anywhere.
And to think that it's only Adelaide where you can paint on
On a stobie pole. Yeah. It's our God-given right. It should be enshrined in our state constitution.
go out tomorrow and paint a stobie pole.
All right. Now,
And ask the council.
something that happened through the week was very important to Adelaide and South Australia. It revolves around those great big balls that we have in the Rundle Mall. They've been given a good old, not a nip and a tuck, but they've been given a good polish, which happens about every 10 years. And it reminds me of Rundle Mall itself. Can anyone here remember Rundle Mall when it was Rundle Street?
Yes.
I was alive, but I wasn't. I'd probably never been to the street
Okay.
/mall at that point.
Same. Yeah.
Oh,
So it's in the formative years of our collective memory, I think.
yeah.
Don may be a bit closer to the action with that one.
Oh, that's a nice way of saying it. I remember as a little boy going to the city with mum or grandma to do shopping and walking along when it was Rundle Street, because Cox Foy's used to be there. And I used to love Cox Foy's because you'd go up to the top and they had a playground.
Big
Ferris wheel.
Ferris wheel, didn't they?
Had a Ferris wheel there, and they had those big Cotties cooler drinks and different cordials that they mix through the thing and it makes it fizzy. And the green one was my favourite, Cooler I think it was called. What can you remember the transformation of Rundle Street to Rundle Mall?
Absolutely. Like it was yesterday.
Was it a good move, do you think?
I don't see anything wrong with it. I think what they've done is quite good. Stopping the traffic going through. It's created a different atmosphere. I think the city's changed dramatically in the variety of shopping you get there. There would have been a lot of one-off type small shops that we now seem to have only chains and franchises and etc. But when I first started working in the city in James Place, it was Rundle Street. So on a Monday evening, after I did my TAFE day,
Yes.
I would borrow my dad's car,
Yes.
his HQ Kingswood, and I would drive into the city for staff training night and park in Rundle Street,
Wow.
right near James Place. There's always a park somewhere there, and we used to park there. Probably generally in front of, I don't know if you guys remember Cigalis, that used to famous for
I know
the
of it.
foot-long hot dogs.
You were partial to a foot long, Colin? Did you ever have one?
No. I know of Cigalas. I don't remember it, but
Oh, you've heard it before?
yes.
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 It was one of the first sort of little sort of snack bar,
It was
cafe
like milk bar and
milk
type
bar
stuff,
type
yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, thick shakes, toasted sandwiches, stuff like that. That was sort of the go.
Wow.
Probably some cafe bar coffee or something of that sort
Sounds
of nature.
heaven, a thick shake with a foot long.
With a foot long.
Brett, did you ever go to Cigalis or before your time?
Before my time again.
Right, okay. So we were on Rundle Street, always a nice park. You went in there. Did you then drive along Hindley Street afterwards and do that sort of strutting your stuff?
On a Monday night? Nah.
Have you done the Hindley Street crawl, Brett Monten? Because you're a musician, you would go out and you're a sort of, you've got your groupies following you and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, just having to shake the groupies. No. But back in the early days, my dad worked at Miller Anderson's. And so I did spend sort of formative years there, and then sort of as a little bit older going to downtown and Tilt and places like that in Hindley Street.
And the Pizza Hut that was downstairs.
Oh, yes.
Yes, I loved the Pizza Hut downstairs.
Then it became,
Towards
at number
King
9,
William.
became a strip club, and I think it's a Ladyboy club now.
Oh,
Well, do you still get it with the lot?
Just the Pineapple.
you just don't get a foot long anymore. So I used to go and do the drive But I don't know what I was looking for down there. So
No. Everything was
You still
below
haven't
ground.
found it?
still haven't found what I'm looking for.
You too. But I remember downtown, Tilt was a bit tough.
Yeah.
That was the harder end.
Downtown
That's where
was-
you could wear that beret that you had on.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
What about Geno's?
What's Geno's?
You don't remember Geno's?
No.
Hindley Street up the West End. Do you remember the... And now, what was down the West End?
What was Geno's?
Lubo's was down there, wasn't it? The
Yeah,
steak
Lobos.
place,
Yep.
Chantel Conturi's
Yep, Chantel
barbecue.
Conturi's family.
Barbecue
owned,
Inn, was it?
Yeah, Barbecue Inn
Barbecue
and
Inn.
Ludo's. There were two
I
there.
have eaten there before.
Yeah. Then there was... Now, was there a bowling alley or
Yeah,
an
there
ice
was.
skating rink?
No,
What
there was a
it?
bowling alley. There could have been
Bowling
both,
alley?
but there was definitely
So
bowling.
just before that was Geno's. So Geno's was another amusement place.
Yes.
And they used to run illegal poker games upstairs.
That's how you made your money.
No, I didn't go there, but my brother-in-law happened to be there one night. He's not a gambler. He was actually watching. He was just there with a mate.
That's what they
And,
all say.
I'm usually watching.
It got busted and they got arrested. Oh. He actually got arrested. Anyway, he wasn't charged.
Now,
with
not
anything.
ice skating, but roller skating. There was a roller skating rink at downtown, wasn't
Yeah.
And I think downtown was developed by Frank Sebastian.
there? Oh, well, there's a name I'm familiar with. So that was Rundle Mall. We actually had a...
Do you remember seeing the big balls for the first time, Steve? The big pair of balls.
Oh, yes. When I first discovered them, it was... I don't know... that first. Who comes up with things like this?
And why isn't one of them a little bit lower than the other?
Well, they are. One's on top
Oh,
of
true.
the other.
One is
yes.
yes. Well, yeah, good point.
Very uncomfortably, but
It's clever. In hindsight, it's very clever because of the novelty. Because there'll be some people, not us, but there'll be some people who take a smutty line when they refer to the meet you at the mall's balls. But it became the place to meet. I remember.
I think that another part about that, another great part about that was during when it got close to Christmas time and John Martin's was there.
Yes.
So he had Father Christmas standing right above.
Just move your mic closer to your mouth. That's better. Yeah.
Father Christmas standing right above where the
balls
mall's
are.
balls were.
And a big Christmas cracker.
Now, I tell you, Brett, that is attention to detail par excellence. I'd never gone to that sort of... hello.
And do you remember in the last, not many years, they moved the balls?
Did they?
They shifted.
And the fountain too, didn't
and
they?
the fountain, yeah.
Well, the fountain was that Gawler Place?
Yeah,
intersection?
yes.
And they shifted it to
Yeah.
outside the Adelaide Arcade.
Yes, and they moved the balls to create a better thoroughfare.
Yeah, they just shifted them slightly towards the shops.
Which brings me to where I was heading just before. Chris and I on the way here tonight, we were on Port Road, and Chris made a little offhanded comment. He said, can you imagine if the centre of Port Road was developed into buildings? And then, what about if it was a canal?
What a great idea.
Can you imagine hopping in a gondola and being paddled from the city to the port with someone serenading in Italian? Can you give us an Italian serenade, please, Don? Just a few bars.
Not really, no.
Ave Maria, something?
Stout.
Lemonade! Yeah.
Now, yeah, absolutely. Wasn't that the original plan for the middle of Port Road?
Yeah, that's why it was
To
built
be a
like this.
canal?
Yeah.
I don't know what happened there.
I think they should. Wouldn't that be such a point of difference?
Where would you park?
You just have to... Do people park on the road, do they?
In some of the middle bits that they turn car parks.
They've turned a lot
Yeah,
of the
there's a
spots
lot of
into
parking in the
yeah.
middle, yeah.
Yeah.
And where would we get the water from?
The ocean.
Oh, from the ocean. Okay.
Oh.
Not from the river.
No. Well, the brewery used to have a little tap that gave away free water. They could just redirect that.
And then so many people were getting the free water that they started charging for it, and I think they donated that money to charity.
Yeah,
they?
dollar
Okay.
a fill
Yeah.
or something,
But
$2 a fill.
seriously, wouldn't you, if we had a gondola system along that canal, if friends came to visit South Australia, surely that'd be on the list.
The Popeye.
The Popeye. Oh my
Who
goodness.
needs gondolas? We've got the Popeye.
You take the Port Popeye.
Well, we had gondolas there for a while.
What?
We did have some people operating
might have done,
gondolas
actually, yeah.
on the River Torrens.
Oh,
You don't remember that?
no, I don't.
Yeah, only in the last 10, 15 years, something like that.
Really?
I don't know if they still operate, whether it's a seasonal thing or they...
I'm not sure.
I know they have floating barbecue boats now that you
Yeah, they
Yes.
have those,
can
yeah.
have a go in. But who's done Popeye? Show of hand. Brett's done Popeye.
Yeah,
You've
at
done
some
Popeye,
point.
Colin.
Yeah.
We've all.
Yeah.
It's a fun little ride, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's a lot of bird life on the River Torrens that I'd never noticed before. Something when Don and I were talking about this.
I thought you'd seen them in deck chairs along the
Yes.
along the river.
I was just freshly cut by Don a couple of weeks ago and lazing back, basking in the lightness of being. And we were talking about some things we could talk about tonight, and one was the restaurant explosion. Because Don, in your lifetime, you said the main fare for people to go out and enjoy was a dinner dance. Maybe, what was the other one? You said a dinner buffet, a buffet.
Buffets were huge.
When you sent us some notes and you said restaurant explosion, I was keen to hear all about this restaurant explosion.
That's
So
the
there's
trouble.
probably
with-
been some of those.
Yes. So buffet. Where was
Buffets?
the best buffet growing up? And a buffet is where you just
Well, growing up, we didn't go to buffet. We ate at home. We were Italians, you know.
So, every night was a buffet, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
every night was a buffet at home.
Buckingham Arms?
So Buckingham Arms, the Hackney Hotel were huge.
What about the revolving restaurant, Glenelg? That was a buffet,
That was a
wasn't it?
disaster every time. God knows what happened there. That was a total disaster.
I heard some people got sick from the motion in the early days, but that might have been a bit of
I'd
hyperbole.
imagine you wouldn't. They
might have
they,
been
they
the food.
turn very slowly. Those.
That's when they
those-
put it onto 75 RPM. 78 RPM.
Yeah.
78.
Yeah.
Portagaff and lemonade.
Yes, what would you like, sir?
Portagaff and lemonade. Dear, can you hurry up and finish your meal? You can
Well, I
imagine.
could, but it's on the table next door.
I think they shut that place because someone was sick at the window and it went over about 10 windows.
No, I want to have a moment to remember all our hospo staff. When you've got that one table that won't leave, and you go and you put all the chairs on top of the table,
Is that usually you, Steve?
you ding the cutlery, they're not moving.
Turn off the lights.
All you have to do is flick the speed of the revolving.
And off they go.
They go plastered against the window. And then, anyway, when the new restaurants exploded onto the scene, what are some of the stalwarts, the big ones that grabbed attention for
Well, there
being
was-
different or being good?
Well, Chinese restaurants came into vogue fairly well. One of the well-known one was called Arts Chinese Restaurant, just spelled ARTS.
Yes.
There was an Aussie guy married to a Chinese woman.
Okay.
That was the very first Asian restaurant I ever went to.
A lot of country
as a
towns got
staff dinner.
Chinese restaurants too.
They do, don't they?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So Chinese sort of thing, just about everyone doesn't mind a Chinese meal
Yeah.
of some kind, you know. Then people like Chong Lu came into vogue at the Hilton.
Fun fact, I
yeah.
photographed Chong Lu
Oh, yeah.
with his knowledge
Yep.
in his kitchen for the TAFE cooking school. They had their 25th anniversary, and they made a coffee table book, and I was a photographer. I got to photograph
Oh, yeah.
Chong doing his bits and bobs.
He was in partnership with Don Dunstan at the Norwood Hotel, I think. Was he? Or is it
What, Don's table?
Don's Table? Or am I thinking of someone else? No, Stephen... Not Chong. Stephen...
Yarwood.
No. He was of Asian
Oh, yes.
description.
Stephen.
I don't want to sound like I'm stereotyping by going Stephen Chen.
Well, I'm glad you didn't stereotype by saying Stephen Chen. You can
Yeah.
Google while
What
Don
is-
finishes his
what is his name? Stephen somebody, yeah.
But no,
Colin's going to look that up. Meantime,
Then anyway, then there was Chloe's came into vogue.
that was on Kensington Road,
Yeah,
wasn't it?
Yep.
I ate there once. Have you ever eaten at Chloe's, Brett? Because you're a
Yes.
romantic, you see.
Yes.
Yeah.
It wasn't. No, it wasn't. Yes, I did.
because that had the Chloe's written along the wall.
They did.
on
Yes,
the
I
roadway.
remember. I have been there a couple of times. Yes, that's on the corner, isn't it? Fullerton
Yeah.
Road.
Lenza Hyde, our
Yep.
foot
Yep.
Yes.
Don Dunstan's former partner, Stephen Cheng.
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 Cheng, there we
Yes.
go. Yep.
You dropped
Yep.
your G.
There's
Yep.
a couple of notable places just up Glen Osmond Road that have been there for years.
Yeah, there was Swain's,
Swain's,
the
yep.
seafood place. Oh, geez, my memory now. Can't think of the others.
Cork and Cleaver.
Cork and Cleaver, yeah. And,
Which is sadly closed now.
yeah, Beverington Street or
Yeah,
somewhere.
that's right, Bevington Street.
Yep. Yeah, that's only just recently closed.
Yeah, it did. I was one of the last people to eat there.
Yep.
Yep, the chef came out to have a chat, and I thought just ignored him. Did not speak. Because I'm with Don
What was
Violi.
his name? Don somebody, wasn't he? That
Yeah,
chef.
yes.
Yeah.
What
And there
about
was Jeremiah's Strip Club, lunchtime strip.
hang on, what?
In James Place.
Lunchtime.
what was it called?
Jeremiah's lunchtime strip.
He was a bullfrog, wasn't he?
That's what I was thinking. 3 Dog Night.
He was.
So okay, I had no idea.
So
in which
James Place, a few doors up from my original shop.
I used to go to James Place Cameras all the time. I
Okay,
don't
so
remember.
next door to James Place Camera, there was a stairwell that went upstairs,
And a little hole through the wall.
and up there
Where
was
you put your
a.
cameras.
You go up there, have lunch, and they'd have topless girls and strippers doing their stuff, and while you had lunch, so it was, businessman type lunch thing, whatever.
Isn't it funny that still now today,
Yes.
topless men, whatever, topless women,
Well, we have
Whatever.
no topless restaurants anymore.
no.
They're all gone.
What's your
Finished.
point, Colin?
Well, the fact that, that's all right and that's not apparently.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Send in if you'd like to
Yes.
comment.
On the back of a self-addressed envelope.
Yes.
Send us a picture and tell us what you'd like to serve. So we've got also Don Giovanni.
Don Giovanni, yep. Don Giovanni in Rundle Street East was famous late night haunt for when you've been out on the grog all night and you need a pizza or a plate of pasta. They were open till, you could walk in there 11, 12 o'clock on a Friday, Saturday and get a meal.
Would you like an embarrassing story?
Yes.
I used to go to Spats every
yeah.
now and then with me mate Brett. I had my HG 70 panel van, because I was a DJ at that time, and I had this white panel van, had carpet in the back. Not for what you're thinking of. I had it because I had to slip my equipment
For
in
the
and
sound
out.
equipment.
And I didn't want it to get scratched.
How sound is your equipment, Steve?
It was very good at the time.
Good.
Anyway, we would go to Spats, and I didn't drink coffee at that point. So I would order a hot chocolate and a serve of crumpets. And they used to serve...
You could have gone to Jeremiah's for the crumpet.
They used to serve
And
three
soft serve.
3 buttered crumpets. They didn't have the butter at Jeremiah.
I'm sure they did.
Just cream.
Fresh whipped.
Three.
Well, it's gone downhill, hasn't it?
It has. Hello to my parents who are watching tonight. 3 buttered crumpets with jam. And that was
Where
my
did you jam
treat.
them? Where did you jam them, Steve?
That was my treat.
So,
Yeah, go on.
so nostalgia.
Yes.
What's the first coffee shop, like real, like good coffee shop that you remember or visited?
For me, I just had a flash of, it was at the Coffee Pot. Was it maybe not on the corner, but down
James Place.
Down James Place.
That's what used to be Jeremiah's.
Oh, that was Jeremiah.
Oh, Colin.
Oh, well, there was a couple of leftovers upstairs, I think.
Yeah.
From those days.
Yeah, Jeremiah's.
Yeah, because you went up. It was quite a narrow space, and you went
Yeah,
up.
nothing on the ground floor. Then first floor.
Yes.
We
Yeah.
actually leased the second level.
I saw one or two who had something on the ground floor.
Yes. I've been up there too, but not when it was Jeremiah's. I
Okay.
was up there when it was
So
the
do you-
coffee pot.
What do you remember, Brett? First coffee shop.
I didn't really get into coffee until I was in my 30s or 40s, I think. And that there's an Italian continental store. Is it Emma and Mario's?
Oh, Mercato. Yep.
Yeah.
On Lower North East Road at Campbelltown. Yep.
Used to go in there on a Sunday morning, and that's where I learnt the beauty of a long black.
Yeah. Okay.
Just the no milk, no sugar, and no, it's
Coffee.
not espresso,
Real
but
coffee.
it was coffee, and that was all you were tasting.
Okay. So there used to be a coffee shop on George Street at Parkside called Solitaires.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Did you ever go there? Tiny little house that was done with like fantastic coffee. You get a toasted sandwich sort of thing, a Welsh rabbit. rabbit.
Yeah, where's
I don't
rabbit?
even
Yep.
know what that is, but anyway.
Buttered
Cheese on toast.
Yeah,
Did they do buttered crumpet?
Buttered crumpets, whatever. And very intimate, very dark. So if you had a good date for the night, been out for dinner, you head down there, get a bit of coffee, and the coffees are served in like brandy balloons and garnished and amazing coffees. And then hopefully you go home.
Actually, when you say the darkness of it, reminds me of Elephant Walk in
Melbourne Street.
Melbourne Street.
It's
Yes.
only just recently closed down too, I think.
Oh, another one.
I think.
I had many a night hidden in one of those booths.
And then friends came along and
Yes, I'm gonna bring the camera up here to show you something special. I'm changing topic because I don't know if you can see that. This is a book that my dear friend Colin gave me to commemorate some of our time together, the history of Bazz and Pilko. And I'm going to keep the camera going here. I even have a little. You can see that. Oh, I've got to do it backwards. He wrote it to me. He dedicated it to me. Dear Steve, with love you. Oh, no. Oh, with love and thanks, Colin. So, Bazz and Pilko, growing up, I was a huge fan. My whole morning routine was built around them. You're nodding your head too, Brett. That was the same for you?
There was always an argument in the back of the car on the way to school about whether we'd listen to 5AD or 5KA.
Oh, yeah, they were the two big ones.
The 5KA, I think John Vincent was there then.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was the two different comedy styles.
Yes.
And I was more on the John Vincent side.
Well, I'm going to pick up on the Jeremiah theme here because...
sorry to diss your book, but I was...
Wow.
I didn't...
No, I just ignored it anyway. I was in my bubble.
Okay.
And John Vincent no longer with us, sadly.
No.
Both Barry, Ian and Tony Pilkington are. So one of the stories that they covered on Bazz and Pilko, Lady Godiva, they played the song Lady Godiva by Peter and Gordon, and they just started talking one day. Who was Lady Godiva? They did a bit of a history thing. This is before phones and Google, of course. And then they realized, oh yes, a nude woman rides through Coventry, and they just jokingly said, hey, if you're a lady and you'd like to ride a horse nude through King William Street today, who's up for it? And a lady said, I will do that. And she did. They had a phone call, and I'm just trying to see her name here because it'll come to me in just a minute. Carol Atkinson. She phoned in. She said, yes, I've got a horse and long blonde hair, and I'm going to ride down King William Street naked at 7 a.m., which she did. And the police quickly got an escort together to make way for her, and she rode down the street.
oh, not to arrest her, to escort her
Yes.
through.
Oh, why would they arrest her? I mean, seriously, what was she doing wrong?
Now,
Come on.
to me, this is the theatre of radio with spontaneous ideas just grow and they just cascade and you have a bit of fun.
I think maybe the radio of yesteryear. I'm a bit over the commercial stations now.
They're all a bit try-hard, I think, nowadays.
And all a bit formula.
And they laugh at
it's
their own
always-
jokes.
Yeah. Oh, we do that. But it's
Yeah, it's the same on every station.
It is,
at
isn't it?
At breakfast anyway.
John-
Yeah.
John managed to lose his toothbrush down the toilet. Tell us a funny story. Ring in, listeners, and tell us when you've lost your toothbrush or something like that.
Yeah.
I know,
I mean,
yeah.
how much of that can you take seriously?
Whereas these guys, they were really creative back in the day.
They were.
Yeah.
They were leaders.
What's funny is that they had that, ring in, come in and do whatever, but it's radio.
It's radio. Yes, so you had to describe it.
Yeah.
They stopped the traffic one day, you were saying, Don, when they had a guy doing a tightrope walk across...
Well, they said they were going to.
and
So the story there was, if I remember right, it was while I was working in town. They put on the radio that at 8 o'clock in the morning or something, whatever it was, they'd put a tightrope between the advertiser building and across the street, and this guy was going to walk the tightrope, and he was going to drop coins into a bucket from up the top, and every coin that landed in the bucket, they were going to donate X amount to some charity.
A great idea.
Well, they had that many people stop that they actually stopped the traffic. They blocked the street. The traffic couldn't get through.
Yeah.
Created a massive people there because all you need is one or two to stop and start looking for what's going on.
People wonder what...
and all the rest stop.
yeah.
Back to the sheep, isn't it?
I love it. I just love that. It's just spontaneous and it's real, etc.
And it was actually creative.
And it was creative. A couple of last things to round off our wandering before we finish with a song. The Birdman Rally and the Soapbox Derby. They were communal events that they were commercial in nature. They were sponsored by, whether it was a Farmers Union or Derry Vale. One of the,
probably.
And Channel 10 was
West
big.
End.
And West End.
I mean, I cannot think of Birdman Rally without thinking of Jane Riley.
Yes, of course. She was the compere there, wasn't she?
Well, she was winner of the Miss Beach Girl Quest or something,
Yes.
wasn't she?
Yes.
Remember Rob
She was.
Morrison?
Yes.
Used to host it with
From,
the big moustache. She was
that's
one of
right.
our clients. He used to come
Curiosity
in.
show.
No, different Rob Morrison.
Yeah,
which
different
I
one.
always thought was
Yeah.
interesting too.
And there was the milk
Yeah.
carton rally as
Yeah,
well.
Oh, the milk
I
carton
don't remember
regatta.
the soapbox derby. I remember the milk carton regatta and the Birdman business, but not the soapbox derby.
Yeah, they used to you make your own soapboxes and just race downhill somewhere.
Oh, so it wasn't down Rowley Park or anything?
No, down. No, it was on an incline. I reckon it was at Montefiore Hill.
Oh.
Yeah, just
Going
down past Colonel Light. Which way do we go? That way.
Yep. Yeah, he was showing them.
Yep.
Yeah,
He wasn't originally there.
he was an
No,
official.
he was...
Colonel Light.
Oh, wasn't he? Where was he originally?
He was
At the brewery, laying on his
No, I
back.
think he was on North Terrace.
in his house.
And they moved him to Montefiore Hill.
When?
goes back. It goes back.
Oh, so
It was either North
before the
Terrace
soapbox
or
derby,
King
he
William
would have
Street.
been there. Yeah. In our age time, in our lives,
Yeah, it was just a little tidbit I thought I'd chuck in there.
I love it when you throw a little tidbit in.
No.
It's a wonderful thing. Did
And
you?
you know, it's tidbit, not titbit.
I know.
I mean, if you want a bit of,
No,
you go to
actually,
Jeremiah's.
if you really want to get really pedantic about it, you can swing both ways. It is either tit or tid. They are both
it?
acceptable. Yeah.
Is it?
Look it up in your funk and wagnalls.
I don't know my tids from my tits.
No, there you go. Now, a couple of last things I want to draw attention to. Touch of Elegance was a famous morning TV show.
Jay Walton.
Jay Walton, yes, I was just groping for her name.
And then Margaret Glasbrook.
Oh, there you go.
And Jay Walton, of course, hosted the wonderful Barry Humphries as Sir Les Patterson, I think a couple of times on... no, it was probably... Well, once or twice on Touch of Elegance, and then Anne Wills and Steve Whittam had the pleasure on AM Adelaide.
So she did it more than once.
Yes.
She actually got a second
think
serving
she
of Sir
may
Les.
have done, but she certainly had him the first time, and that was early on in the piece.
Yeah.
And I think the switchboard lit up.
Oh, because he was...
No wonder.
Yeah.
He was uncontrollable. They had some young lady there selling some orange juice, and he had a drink, and he spat it all out. Oh my God! Would people drink this?
I think he pounced on Jay. There's a
Oh, did he? Yes.
There's a clip
yes.
of him on top.
Okay. Hang on. We've got a message here. I had a milkshake every Saturday morning, and then into the Savoy Theatre, which showed newsreels.
And which one was the Savoy?
Or the one that had newsreels.
The one that's the one.
So thank you, Bazza, for that. And can I just say, Tim Whiffen has made a couple of comments here. He's a friend of mine who does a lot of editing work for me. He says, the segment we're on tonight is reminding him of the 4 Yorkshiremen from Monty Python. Oh, my God.
You were lucky.
You were lucky, you were. And he also, Tim's memory of the first great cafe is Lucia's. And in saying that, Don, I look at you and I think, are you really Italian if Lucia's was not offered up by you? Because that is the single most authentic slice of Italy in all of South Australia.
Well, there were a lot before Lucia's.
Really?
Yeah. Hindley Street had a sort of cousin of my mum's or someone. They used to run a restaurant down there called something like Sorrento or something of that of that nature. The name,
Right.
But yeah, there were some Italian restaurants around. Star Grocery. Do you remember Star Grocery?
No.
You know Star Grocery. So Star Grocery was corner of Morphett and Hindley. It was the southeastern corner. I think it's a convenience store now or something of that nature. That was there. I think that was there when my mum's dad came here in 1927, and it only just closed about 20 odd years ago.
And
So it was like a bit like well, not like Mercato that you mentioned, but it was about the only place in Adelaide you could buy pasta and Parmesan cheese and, the stuff that was, normal for them in Italy.
Yeah. The other place that I can think of, I think it's changed hands in recent years, La Trattoria.
Oh, the Trattoria.
La Trattoria, yeah.
In King William Street. That would have been there for years, I'm guessing.
Yeah, that's been there a long time.
It's got some Grand Prix drivers' handprints on the walls.
It has, and in the kitchen. It's an amazing place. Ralph Hadzik, a former guest here, he eats there a lot. Every Tuesday night, if you want to see Ralph, that's where he is with his compadres.
Bowl of milk out the back.
A bowl of milk out the back. Good night.
Does he wear those pants?
He wears his pants. Also, I wanted to say a little thank you to David Manier. He was one of the people I reached out to today from his history in advertising, former guest, to try and track down the Portagaff stuff. And he said to me, he remembers it. Don Barker, lead talent, dressed in a black suit for the Stout and white suit for the Lemonade. He said, I think it was done by Naz McNamara, an agency my dad worked for, and also a very young Andrew Kelly. Anyone in the advertising world would know the name Andrew Kelly. And so there you go. David from Rome. He's in Rome at the moment.
Oh,
He's responded. What time was it in Rome at the time? Now.
Different time to here.
Thanks. This is why Don is so sought after as a talent.
And we're going out to Italy tonight, so say hello.
Hello, buongiorno.
There we go.
Buongiorno. Okay, last thing I want to put on everybody is Pat Davies' Figurama Slimming Salon. Don Violi, you're responsible for this. Did you go there? Is that how you got your figure?
No. No, I've never been there. No.
Oh, hang on. And then we've still got your invitation. We're not going to leave without that.
Okay.
Tell us. Why is it etched into your memory? Was she just?
I just remember the commercials from the TV of these women going into these supposed slimming machines and whatever, like sort of almost like saunas that your cabinets that you're up to your neck and they sweated you out of your, like. They probably lost no weight, but I think she made a lot of money.
I remember one of the early James Bond movies. He goes to a health spa and he sits in one of those, and a naughty lady or naughty man slips a broom handle through the toilet and he can't get out, and then turns the temperature up. But Colin, your bit of research for tonight, you watched the TV commercial, or one of them, for, what's it called? Pat Davies' Figurama Slimming. Describe what you saw on screen for 30 seconds.
It was a lady's bottom, clothed bottom, and clothed top probably as well. But
how long have you been speaking like that, Colin?
That's right.
About the clothed bottom?
Hello,
So, hang on, you're watching
Ita, if you're listening.
You're watching a lady's bottom on. Is it just standing there?
It's just standing there, and the voiceover tells you about what's her name, Pat Davies' Figurama, and tells you where it is and what they can do for you. And I think there might be a bit of hip movement. I can't remember. I might have just made that up for my own benefit. But then at the end of it, she smacks her bottom. And I think it's that in shape. She's in shape.
Right. Well, there you go. I actually might have some which I can very quickly show, because Brett and Colin, you shared. Here it is. I'm going to pull this up. I'll see if I can make it bigger. I don't think I can.
And the other thing that the Pat Davies Figurama reminded me of was the Joyreen frock salon. So Joyreen,
Let's
lovely
have
for
a look
ladies.
at this. What do we think, Chris?
That's
There's the bottom.
There's the clothed bottom. And that sounds like
Now,
Brenton Whittle speaking.
That is the clothed bottom if ever I've
Yes.
seen one. And what was the other one you just mentioned? Joyreen.
Joyreen frock salons, lovely for ladies.
Actually, I've got one here too, Chris.
They've just closed down too.
Have they?
Oh, did they?
Joyreen Frock Salon.
Here we go. Here's Joyreen. I've popped into Joyreen once or twice.
Did you?
Yes.
Did you find a frock?
I was looking for some material for something.
Oh.
And yes,
I don't know whether it's solely Adelaide, but those two adverts took me back to Angel Shoes back in the day.
Oh, yes.
And their
Angel
jingle
Shoes.
was Angel Shoes.
anything but average if you've got hard to fit feet. Ha!
Goodness.
There you go.
What a sandal.
What a biscuit. Yes.
Unbelievable.
Well, there you go. Now, we're going to hold that back until we say goodnight. We're going to pause now and thank you all for being with us as we've had this nostalgic ride. In a moment, the musical pilgrimage, Brett, I'll hand over to Brett, I almost said Brett Williams, Brett Monten, to lead us through that. But thank you, Don, for taking us through memory lane for so many things tonight. And what an amazing... Are you glad you grew up here?
Yeah. Why not? I don't see any reason to knock where the town. It was a happening place.
If you had your time over again, what is the question you would ask Don Dunstan? He's just imagine that he's sitting in your chair. You've had the grilling from us tonight, and I can't let the boys down again.
What would I ask?
What would you ask Don Dunstan? There he is. He's leaned back. You've got your cutthroat, and you're caressing
your hairy strop.
Your hairy.
It tastes like Cooper's.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like Cooper's, yeah.
What do you ask him?
I don't know. How's your day, I suppose?
Well, that is a start. Don't you think that's a start?
I'd ask if he talked the shorts before he slid into them.
Oh, to less friction. Right.
Pink shorts.
Yeah,
Yes.
well, there's too much friction in politics, so you'd have to...
Well, there is.
those shorts would have been a worry.
Colin, thank you very much for this meandering down memory lane.
My pleasure, Steve. Good to be here.
We're coming to that in a moment. I'm just pointing at what Colin's got in his hands. We're not doing that until after the song. Brett, thank you for your memories.
Oh, thank you for having me.
All right. In a moment, the musical pilgrimage. Everyone, in post-production, there'll be a little... And now the musical pilgrimage will happen, and we'll throw to Brett Monten.
Is it still live at the moment?
Yeah, it's still live.
Because I think Courtney Robb may have tuned in.
Oh, really?
Hello, Courtney. Hello.
Hello, Courtney Robb. Can I just say, Courtney Robb, whether you have tuned in or not, I don't mind. Brett introduced me to your music right back in the very early days, and you have such a fantastic talent. Your way with words, the beautiful way you blend them with your melody, they haunt me, they've been with me, and it was some of your songs in the very early days that made me feel... This is good. Every episode we can have original South Australian music because we've got the proper talent here. We don't have to kowtow to think it's got to be Eastern Seaboard or it's got to be overseas. So thank you.
On that note, the song of the week is actually Courtney Robb. You know that she's been a favourite of mine for a long time. Since
Absolutely.
episode 1, I think, or 2.
Yep. Episode 2, because in episode 1 we played a Brett Monten song.
Did we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, actually it was Susan Lilly we actually played, I think, in episode 1.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm interrupting your
No,
segment.
this is fine. I'm trying to remember what we did for the first episode. I thought Susan came along later.
Susan did, but her songs came before her.
Okay. So with Courtney's song, the song tonight, it's called Reckless Moment.
Oh, I haven't heard this one.
And it's a song about, it's kind of about addiction and how hurt people, they're drawn to things, which can make them feel better, but ultimately they're unhealthy. So non-helpful mechanisms, I guess, or coping mechanisms.
Like a moth being drawn to a flame, is that what we're talking about here? It's not good for them, but they're drawn towards them?
Yeah, I suppose. I think in this case, if the moth had previously been injured, maybe.
Oh, okay.
It's that kind of patterny thing.
Okay.
So the song tonight
Yes.
is the amazing Courtney Robb, and the song is called Reckless Moment.
Now, in post-production, we will insert that song, so we will be able to hear it. But right now, to finish off our recording, we will back announce it and say goodnight to Don Dunstan, which we always say. That's Courtney Robb, and the song is called Reckless Moment. And wow, that's a nice song you've picked to end. And I will be in complete transparency. The time of recording, I've not heard the song yet, but I know Courtney Robb, and I know it will be a fantastic song. And you've chosen as well, so it's a double filter. Brett Monten, thank you again.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
It's so nice to have you both back since you helped start this thing in the very early days. Don Violi, thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Don.
And yes, we could just say goodnight to 2 Dons
Yes.
tonight. And thanks for looking after my follicles all these years.
It's in the contract. I must thank the parole board for allowing me to be here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, Colin, I've been holding back from you because you've got something in your hands you've been wanting to show us all, and it is your claim to fame because we're about to finish and say goodnight to Don Dunstan. Look what you've got. I'm going to bring this
Because
camera in.
Don has always featured, but because Don is here with us tonight.
There's
but also
Don.
This Don here was. What do? We say goodnight to him every week.
We will.
I was invited to Don Dunstan's 70th birthday party, and when was that? The 1st of September 1996,
Wow.
which is only a couple of days
Wow.
away.
Yes. Oh, is there more Don down the side? That's Don as well.
More Don
Look at
down the
this.
side, and there's
Yep.
more Don. If you haven't had enough Don there, there's more Don on the back. There's Michael Parkinson.
Oh, where?
Don with Michael Parkinson.
Where?
There.
Okay. I can't see Michael Parkinson.
He might be
Oh,
there.
other side, yes. Okay, there we go. That's
On
more.
the flip side, Keith Michelle featured.
Keith Michelle, okay. And then the one in the middle at the top, that's the Don I remember. That's the vision of Don. It's got that beautiful crescent moon shape to his face on the side, and those lovely...
That's my haircut.
That's your haircut, Don. Wow. And here he is seeking just some human contact from other people who actually talk to him. and they say, where did you get your haircut? He said, I'm not saying. The guy didn't speak to me.
Do you know what?
Yes.
I think as a not necessarily a holiday, but you know how there's days for everything.
Yes.
The week, or the day of the 21st of September,
Yes.
should become an honorary South Australian Don Day. What do you think?
I love it. Why did you pick that date?
Isn't that the date you just said?
21st, yes.
Right, sorry.
So this week we've got Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Don Day. Friday, Saturday,
nice.
Sunday.
That's fantastic. I agree. The 21st of September every year is a Don Day.
Is a Don Day.
And all Dons can rejoice in that. Dons like you.
Absolutely.
So Dons don't have to talk to each other. They can still enjoy this day together.
Like having a Saints Day, isn't it?
It is
Yeah.
St. Don. Now, you got invited to this birthday party, his
I did.
70th.
His 70th birthday party.
And what was it like?
I didn't go.
that was a big anticlimax, wasn't it?
Colin!
The claim to fame was that I got the invite, not that I went.
Why did you get the invite, Colin? What was the
I
connection there?
was with someone who knew
Who moved and
worked,
shaped.
who worked within the circles that Don was associated with.
Oh, okay. But you didn't want to enter those circles.
No, I had a Liberal Party meeting on that night, so I chose not to go. No, I would never be at a Liberal Party meeting. But no, there were reasons that I didn't go. None of those reasons were. I thought to myself, Don's not very chatty, so I can't see the point in going really. But no, there were reasons, but they were personal reasons, but not to do with Don.
Okay. So, wow. Do you know...
I met Don a few times at his restaurant, and so I'm a friend of Don's.
Brett, what would you have paid to have gone to that if you had the invitation?
What year was it? 90?
96.
I don't think I would have been... If it was today, and he was still alive, obviously, I would have
Wheelie
paid a lot of money.
Yeah.
Having learned a bigger appreciation of his contribution and the man he was, and how sort of breaking of moulds he was. Like, such a unique individual, and he's one of these people that I really wish that I had known.
Yeah. You'd slam 100 on the counter, no problem. To
Yeah.
go, yeah. Don Violi, what would you pay?
I was,
To-
wait-
to
I was
go-
afraid of this.
to go to Don Dunstan's party and ignore him.
No, to go to his
For a-
party and
for a-
speech therapy.
just for a
lessons.
general chat with him.
Knowing what
Well,
you know today.
I'm surprised I didn't get an invite, actually, seeing I cut his hair.
Here, have mine.
And considering most of the staff were clients of ours at the time.
Ooh.
Yeah, you said before.
Oh, yeah.
You,
Well, probably the famous one was
continued to cut his hair.
the one that started the restaurant round the square. Peter Duncan.
Oh yes, yeah.
That then
yep,
disappeared.
Yeah,
And they found
yeah,
in Indonesia or
that's
somewhere.
Right, that's right. Yeah.
Sweta Arwan, the protocol officer for South Australia. Stephen Wright, that was his press secretary. There were other members.
So
that
you
came
think
from
you
there
should
from
have
his
been
company.
invited?
Well, why not?
I think it
Said he didn't-
sounds fair.
said he
Yeah,
didn't
sounds fair.
speak to me. He may as well have invited me.
Well, thank you again. Thank you, Brett. Colin,
You know, I actually,
hello.
my own personal thing though is that I kind of quite like that I didn't go because it's a talking point in itself. Well, we're talking about it.
Well, we are in regret and tears.
I mean, look, I reckon it would have been 500 people
Yes, but you could have
No.
been
or
memorable.
whatever.
Where was the function,
The
Colin?
Gecko's restaurant. So, however many people Gecko's on the Torrens there, I think it's something
Oh, the
different
old,
now.
where
yeah.
Benjamins and all those were.
Yeah, Gecko's restaurant, War Memorial Drive, North Adelaide. So,
Yeah.
whatever their capacity is, it probably would have been. So,
Oh, well, there you go.
You live in.
You live and don't learn by the sound of it
Well,
if
at
you still
least,
don't want
at
to go.
least I didn't get not spoken to by Don
Well, that's
at
true.
his party.
Thank you. On that note, I'd like to say good night from me, Steve Davis. Good night from Don Violi.
Good night.
Good night, Adelaide.
That's Brett Monten. Colin.
Good night, everybody. Good night, boys.
And
And good night, Don. And good night, Don.